Welcome back to our series on the angels. Millions of creatures exist that are far more perfect than man. Who are these creatures who are pure spirit without body, who know the secrets of nature, who are swifter than the blink of an eye, who have no shadow of imperfection? No painter or poet could come close to giving us a glimpse of their beauty. While their abilities are extraordinary, even more sublime is their mission. Come with me as I explore the mysteries surrounding God's most faithful ministers, the admirable creatures we call the angels. When it comes to the angels, it is fascinating to discover that their duties involve more than simply the protection of humans. They are at once attendants at God's throne, God's messengers to mankind, God's governors of the world, and our personal spiritual and physical guardians. Can we ever fully grasp and appreciate the splendor of their majestic powers? We can only begin to scratch the surface. The gifts and responsibilities given to these spiritual beings are so far outside of our mortal understanding that what little we do learn of them from the scriptures, it is only a drop in the well of information that shrouds them. In our continuation of this series, it is our goal to learn of the 9 choirs of angels. But let's take this opportunity to first review some of the fundamental truths we have learned about the angels in general. Then we will continue down our list of choirs and begin our investigation of the dominions, also called the dominations. The first and seemingly obvious truth regarding the angels is that they are creatures of God, made by Him and for His design. The angels were made all at once, spoken into existence, just as all the planets, animals, and plants were. We do not know exactly when they were created by God, but the Catechism affirms that angels have been present since creation and throughout the history of salvation. They have certainly existed since before the fall of Adam and Eve, since the serpent in the Garden of Eden was Satan, a fallen angel. Another truth about the angels, one that many seem to forget in their awe of these spiritual beings, is that they are not omnipotent and they have limitations. Because they are creatures brought into being by Almighty God, they are subject to His authority and are limited to the power granted to them by God. An example of this can be found in chapter 10, verse 12 through 14 of the book of Daniel. Daniel, after fasting and penance, saw a terrifying vision, but was comforted by an angel who said to him, "Fear not, Daniel, for from the first day that thou didst set thy heart to understand, to afflict thyself in the sight of thy God, thy words have been heard, and I am come for thy words. But the prince of the kingdom of the Persians resisted me 21 days, and behold, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, and I remained there by the king of the Persians. But I am come to teach thee what things shall befall thy people in the latter days, for as yet the vision is for days." From these verses, we learn that this angel spent 3 weeks earnestly attempting to visit Daniel, but lacked the power to overcome the evil prince of Persia without the aid of Saint Michael the Archangel. And lastly, an important and beautiful truth: angels are spiritual beings. God created them without bodies, and they take up no physical space. While they are invisible, when they do wish to be perceived, they sometimes appear in human form. In the book of Daniel, one of the angels is described as appearing like a certain man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with fine gold of Uphaz. His body also was like beryl, and his face as the appearance of lightning, and his eyes as lamps of fire, and his arms and his feet were like in color to polished brass, and the voice of his words like the voice of a multitude. Now that we have refreshed our knowledge of these choirs as a whole, we can move on to their specific ranks, picking up where we left off last week with the dominions. The dominions are in the first of the 3 choirs in the second hierarchy of angels, which has a focus on the government of the universe. They are akin to a special task force whose job it is to be intimately involved with the inner workings of divine power. It is their job to command and give instruction to the lesser angels below them, making them the mediators of God's divine will. The name dominions originally translates to Latin as dominionatio, also translated from the Greek term kyrioteites as lordships. This name could not be more fitting for this particular choir, as their role in the grand design is very similar to that of a lord over his people. To hear the command of their king, God, and see it followed through within their domain. The dominions serve as a channel of mercy, always at the ready to execute the will of God and spread divine glory to every corner of the earth. By praying the chaplet of St. Michael, we can praise and honor the archangels as well as the dominions. We have much to learn from these spiritual beings, the most important being obedience. They show us through their actions that by knowing to obey God, we can learn and be more fit to rule and guide others. Thank you for continuing with me in this series. I look forward to investigating the thrones next week as we dive into what makes this choir so fascinating.